listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, the place to learn about new technology and technological advances before they become mainstream. This podcast is sponsored by Ingram Micro's Imagine Next. It's not about the destination. It's about going someplace you never thought possible. Go to imaginenext.ingrammicro.com to find out more. Let's get into it.
Welcome to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. I'm your host, Carrie Roberts, and my guest today is Ed Potoczniak. He's a senior account executive for the public sector at Ingram Micro. Welcome, Ed. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Carrie. Thank you for having me.
So the Fed buying season is ending in September, and we are following up actually on our recent conversation in episode 93. So if you're listening and haven't checked that out, you can listen there too. And I'd love for you to talk about where is the marketplace right now, especially with this election year and the pandemic changing business as usual.
Yeah, it's been busy, but extremely robust, but really no complaints coming from the sales side of things. There is some noise, with election and disruptions with the pandemic, but the, busy season is moving forward and is really robust. And anytime you do see a disruption in the marketplace or the economy, Fed is usually steady because it does have federal year funding, it has budgets, it has allocations of funds out there ready to spend. And then you throw in the pandemic with a mix of influx of funding. It's kind of a new definition to what we call the crazy season, right? So, and the good thing about that is public sector is really part of the solution when you look at the pandemic. So really it kind of jump-started back in March, I would say, the busy season, and it hasn't really, slowed down since. I mean, we've been empowering veterans with telehealth, remote workers, temperature screening, things along those lines, with the CARE Act that's been out there. And if we look at IT overall spending in the fourth quarter, it's anticipated to be about $28 billion in IT alone. So you got some agencies like the VA, Department of Homeland Security, Army, Air Force. They've really got the highest amount of spending obligations yet to be dispersed. So they're going to be fast and furious. If you look at SOUP, which is the major GWAC in IT spending, 140 different awardees, they ramp up, for Q4 as well. They do about 150 RFPs a day in July. They top out at 170 in August, and then about 150 RFPs a day in September as well. So lots of quoting, a lot of back and forth that we're supporting our partners on. And if you look at dollar spend, 54% of the federal year dollars are spent in Q4 on that contract. And if you break it down even further, 33% of the federal year dollars in September alone. So the best is yet to come. And then the last week, if you can believe it, 17% of the federal year-end dollars are spent in the last week of September. So as I say, fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a fast ride.
Now, you mentioned kind of the amount of money that's spent on tech in the government in certain sectors. Is there more money available this year because of the pandemic and because there's a need for more technology, or has it stayed pretty consistent in the spending overall?
Well, correct. So the spending, the budgets have been set. So we have the normal budgets that are in place for agencies to spend. But on top of that, you have the CARES Act that, put some influx of additional spending into the marketplace as well. And again, it wasn't all IT, related from the CARES Act, but it did influx some funds to certain agencies on top of the normal budget of funds that they had.
And we've talked a lot about the CARES Act on this show, especially in the context of what we're talking about today. Is there any other way that it's affected the buying season, do you think?
Yeah, definitely intensifying it, right? But I guess $2 trillion will do that. And definitely elongating as well. Like I mentioned before, it seems like we started in March and it really hasn't slowed down since. And really different, many aspects of the act, including, there's some small business loans to help them maintain payrolls. I think it was like $350 billion that were available. And there was help insulating and protecting government contractors, right? I think it was Section 3610 that made funds available for contractors to really keep their key employers or subcontractors in a ready state of performance. So if there's an essential service that needed to be performed by the federal government or by an agency, those contractors could have those employees ready. And then, of course, as we alluded to before, supplemental appropriation. So approximately $340 billion of additional funds were given to agencies to spend. And again, not all IT, but certain agencies, fared pretty well, like Defense had an additional 10.5, Homeland Security, over $45 billion, FEMA did very well. with that funding, and Health and Human Services kind of hit it out of the park with $172 billion. But in customers that had relationships and contracts that focused on some of those agencies did very, very well, even before the buying season.
Now, for August of 2020, a major portion of the NDAA that impacts federal contracts took effect. And Section 889 prohibits the federal government from directly procuring, this is what it states, any equipment, system, or service that uses covered telecommunications equipment or services as a substantial or essential component of any system or as critical technology as part of any system, or entering into a contract with any entity that uses such covered telecommunications equipment or services. That is a lot of information. What does that mean in basic terms, and how does this affect partners?
Yeah, that's a mouthful for sure, but it basically bars agencies from contracting with any entity that uses that equipment, right? So Section A of the Act, Section 889 came out last year, and that was pretty straightforward, right? You can't sell the covered telecommunications, and Huawei, ZTE were two of the leading companies that were on that list, Chinese-based companies. But now it's not as simple as just selling the product. You can no longer use the product in part of your solutions that you're offering. So really what's happening now is partners must take stock of their infrastructure. So is it remote locations, teaming partners, or any of our solutions using this product that maybe we don't know about. So they do have to do a deeper dive into their own business to see if this is happening. Also, there's going to be some additions to representation. So proposal reps and annual reps that are on SAM customers are now going to have to get certified that they're not using the covered equipment. We've already seen just in the last couple of weeks, especially system integrators are putting out certain reps to customers saying, hey, with this PO that I cut you, we need to confirmation that the equipment or services purchased are either covered or not covered in this section. So it is hitting the streets already. So it's doing some infrastructure assessments within, and then also some additional representations that customers will have to do. There has been, thankfully, a temporary waiver until the end of the buying season, to September 30th, 2020. So we can continue contracting activities as is, but then, once that expires, we'll certainly have to delve deeper into it.
Another recent thing to note is there's a new type of certification available as well. The Office of the Under-Secretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment believes that security is foundational to acquisition and should not be traded, along with cost, schedule, and performance moving forward. And they've been working with other organizations to develop what's called the Cybersecurity Maturity Model certification. What is this certification, and why is it so important?
Yeah, it's really a big step in securing the nation's supply chain. It's all about risk mitigation and trying to eliminate, the vulnerabilities, cyber vulnerabilities within the supply chain, really ensuring that DoD, the contractors have appropriate controls, right? So it's not just the agency or even a prime that has the controls, but some of the subs, some of the small businesses, because really the weakest link can be attacked in that whole supply chain, and ensuring that everyone that touches that model, has the certification. DoD is definitely leading the charge, with this certification. Talk is that civilian, is going to see how this goes, and it may pick this up, going forward as well. It may make this a requirement. There's 5 different levels. Level 1 is kind of basic security, hygiene, following along the NIST 800-171 guidelines. So, email passwords and VPNs, things along those lines. The thing, unlike NIST though, which is self-certified, this one you actually have to go to a certified assessor to become certified, right? So there is a cost, but it also does give you a differentiation if you do, get the certification. And then if you move down the levels, if you do have a majority of the partners are going to have level 1, but a big determining factor is you have controlled unclassified information, CUI, and level 3 has controls for CUI information. So when a DoD contractor looks at what level they need to end up on, that's going to be a big determining factor. And we will see some mandatory requirements on RFPs going forward throughout the year, and that's going to increase next year as well. So it's something that has to get done. And Ingram does have some resources. So our DXS digital transformation team, we have partners with service companies that have applied to become third-party assessors, right? So they can help take a look at your business, provide consulting and assessment of where you are, and build a plan to where you want to end up.
No, that's great. I want to talk about some good things, some positives and opportunities within everything we just mentioned. And the role of a systems integrator actually began back in the 80s. And for those that maybe don't know what that is, a systems integrator could be a person or a business that builds computing systems for clients by combining hardware, software, networking, and storage products from a variety of vendors. So system integrators are playing a larger role in today's marketplace. How so?
Well, they really touch 50 to 60% of the Fed marketplace, goes through a system integrator. So they are large, complex global entities. So it's really important to be relevant since you're such a large portion of that business. So we work hard at Ingram to become relevant, but then also make our partners relevant as well. So doing business, though, has changed and evolved over the years with the system integrators. Back in the day, building a trusting relationship with a buyer was key. You had a handful of buyers that trusted you, and you could actually make a reasonable business off of that. But we've seen a large trend over the last few years of consolidation in the system integrator world. L3 Harris recently merged, SAIC broke off to Leidos, and now SAIC is merging with Unisys Fed. Raytheon, United Tech are coming together. So a lot of movement in these large companies. And system integrators, frankly, are expecting more from their IT partners these days, right? They're not just looking to check a box. Back in the day, hey, I've got a small business partner. That was great. You're woman-owned. You help me meet my set asides. But they really want these partners to bring value. They want more skin in the game. And for the partners, it's really, how do I get a seat at that table? How do I evolve from talking to buyers to going up to the program management level and planning and attacking opportunities together? And really to get that is, many of the system integrators have actually gotten smarter over the years, and they have hundreds of suppliers. So they're looking to consolidate suppliers. So they put typically RFIs, RFPs out and compete what they call enterprise agreements. So really at the end of the day, they want a short list of go-to partners that cover a wide range of different technologies that they can go to the market with. So how do partners become on that short list? Like I said, Ingram is working hard to be relevant in the system integrator community, kind of leveraging our existing network that we have for the benefit really of our customers and vendors. So we take time to introduce partners to system integrators, and then we support them as they kind of build the rapport with the system integrator and put them in a position when an RFP does come out for an enterprise contract that they can capitalize on that. So we've done that several cases where introduction, and now that partner has an enterprise contract and is off and running. Another angle too that we look at is kind of marrying the vendor system integrator teams that we support with our reseller counterparts. So, it takes really an army. These are large corporations, global, companies, and everyone has a different piece of the puzzle, right? So how do we marry with the vendors intel, with our customers intel, and increase both partners' business in the process?
And Ingram is always looking to help and bring people together. And one thing you also suggest works well during this time is something called teaming, which is where multiple businesses join together to help each other out, like the Trust X Alliance, which you have. Can you share more about why teaming is so valuable during this time?
Absolutely. It's the old adage of team, right? Together, everyone achieves more. It's hard really for one source to be everything to everyone. And if instead of walking away from opportunities and customers, how do I fill gaps? How do I work with partners that complement what I offer? Maybe it's a large business. I need a small business for a set-aside opportunity. Maybe it's a security clearance or a certain service that I don't have on my line card. And maybe it's vendors. 2GIT from the Air Force came out this year, and it required to have a GSA letter of supply for over 200 vendors that were on the RFP, and not one entity has that many. So it really opened it up to teaming environment where, hey, to maximize the value of this contract, I need to find some other partners that fill in the gaps for me. Ingram's premier community, for our top performing solution providers, really around the globe is our Ingram Trust X group. And within that, we have different affinity groups based on business types, but we have a federal affinity group that's 18 partners strong. And really our goal is to act as one. It's about enablement. It's about collaboration. And the mission really is to educate, grow, and advocate, right? So regulatory updates, as we talked about already, how do we keep our members up to date on what's going on in the marketplace? So, Section 889, for instance, that we mentioned. We work with the Coalition for Government Procurement. We have attorneys on staff like Shepard Mullen to help with those type of conversations. We talked about CMMC certification. We actually have a practice group within the Fed Affinity Group. We have one of our members is a security expert, and they've educated the group on overall what CMMC is, and then also help them take a deeper dive into the controls for each of the different levels so they can kind of determine where they want to end up, and then help customers do assessments and get ready for that. I talked about 2GET from the Air Force. It was over 200 vendors that were required, and product breadth was one of the key attributes of that contract. You got points for more vendors that you could supply. So we formed a teaming alliance with a subset of our Fed Affinity Group, and honestly knocked it out of the park, because leveraging our schedule through ProMark and our partners' schedules, we checked a lot of the boxes and did very, very well. And then it's advocating. So GSA Marketplace, for instance, has an initiative, and our small businesses thought they were kind of being shut out of that marketplace, and it was more apt to a large provider like Amazon. So kind of we worked with our relationship with the Coalition of Government Procurement to help lobby and get our voices heard with that. So at the end of the day, it's leveraging Ingram's and our partners' capabilities to really move our collective businesses forward. The more buying vehicles and more opportunities that we have out there, the bigger opportunities that we can sell. And then really finally, from a teaming standpoint, we also have a couple of different programs. We have our supplier diversity program, and really it's just a sub-DISTI. We have Alaskan Tribal Company and a woman-owned company that participate in that. So if a large business just needs a sub-DISTI, they can tap into that program. We also have our diversity partner network, and again, it's a subset of our Fed Affinity Group. It's VARs, value-added resellers, strong vetted partners with a long list really of contract vehicles that they have. They have capabilities, they have vendor certs, and anywhere from a hub zone to woman-owned to services-able veteran-owned services as well. So a couple of different ways that we can empower teaming with Ingram Micro.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the TrustX Alliance on this show before, and Ingram is constantly offering so many community options to work together, which, as you're mentioning, we need that in general, but definitely during times when they're more challenging. Another thing, of course, that's great that we are seeing is the modernization of IT with things like IoT and AI, but a lot of times these solutions can be challenging to manage. What are your suggestions on managing these types of updates?
Yeah, no doubt solutions are getting more and more complex. There's funding out there for IT modernization efforts. FITARA scores are really driving agency efficiencies. And IoT and AI, as you mentioned, are becoming more proficient in the marketplace. I think I read something recently. It's supposed to grow by 400 billion by 2023, and those type of solutions. So it's really evolving your mindset, changing your mindset. It's moving away from commodity sales to solution sales, and it's leveraging some new vendors, but some existing vendors that maybe have on the line kind of a way to form really a unique solution. So it's really starting with the end result. It's identifying what is the outcome, what cost agency problem or customer problem are you trying to solve? It could be efficiencies and utility consumption, right, in a smart military base, for example. And then it's building solutions around that, or improving safety in building, things along those lines. It's more complex because it leverages different types of product like sensors and gateways, connectivity and platforms to house it all. And of course, security is an underlying factor of all of it. It's very, very important to have a security practice, going forward with that as well. Ingram has some great investments to really help partners build both IoT practices and security practices, security program based on NIST standards that we can really get a partner from the ground or up and running with a sophisticated security practice. We have an IoT practice development program. It's pretty in depth. It's 4 months, 10 module program that really helps partners understand how IT can be implemented across the verticals that they serve, what customers that they serve. So they'll be exposed to training topics, solution kits, use cases, tools, and sales strategies during that program. And really by the end, you develop an IoT solution proof of concept for one of your customers. So by the end of the program, you have a strategy for your business and you're up and running. We also have a marketplace. So it's really an online catalog of pre-bundled solutions by verticals, and the problems that they solve. So you don't really have to recreate the wheel, right? So there's hundreds of different solutions that are out there. Go to our marketplace to see many of those in action. And then also has sales enablement, deployment, and training resource to help complement the full solution and enrolling the solutions that are out there. And lastly, on that part, we have made some investments in a center of excellence as well. It's right next to our headquarters in Irvine, California, 2,200 square feet. It's really featured solutions like IoT, AI, mixed reality. And it's all about proof of concepting, case usage, training, demos. It's really about strengthening the partners' practices and moving opportunities forward.
Let's talk a few months from now. We're talking about there's a lot of changes right now. When the buying season is over, what do you think we can expect it to be like for the rest of 2020 and going into 2021?
Absolutely. Well, there's talk about additional CARES Act funding, right? That's happening right now. Continuing resolution probably will happen with the budget, a presidential election. So, pretty ho-hum, right? And not much going on. Honestly, there's a lot going on. So we expect the business season to continue as CARES Act funds additional initiatives in the marketplace. But really, typically, the Q1 of the federal buying season, IT customers are from a standpoint of delivering all those year-end purchases. We kind of talked about how much buying gets done, especially that last week in September. So we're focused really on managing rollouts, configurations, services for the federal government. And then you take a step back and you focus on what's next. What technologies do I want to focus on for the upcoming year? What plans do I want to put together? What are some of the bigger opportunities? So I've mentioned 2GET. That is still in the process of being competed from the Air Force. So how do I go after that? ITES 4H from DoD is expected to be released in October. So a draft RFP came out. I know there's some Q&A on that. So that's something that IT government contractors are going to look at. And then First Source 3 from Homeland Security is anticipated coming out in the near future as well. And if we look at all these type of RFPs, Ingram does have an RFP service helping our customers with the responses. So it's really partnering with customers on these opportunities from a technical standpoint, kind of leveraging our technical expertise that we have and the over 2,000 vendors that we have on the line card to come up with the bill of materials, is leveraging our secure supply chain certs that we have, Scrum plans, if you will. And it's really coordinating pricing too with vendors. Are there special pricing for these type of opportunities, and how can we help connect the dots on that? So it's really, as I said, been fast and furious for so long, starting in March, but I dare I say, hopefully a little breather, we get a little breather around the holidays, I'll take a little break from it.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about the Fed buying season. And for those that don't know, the Fed is actually the largest IT customer. You talked a lot about how Ingram is supporting the buying season. Is there anything else that Ingram is doing that we haven't talked about, and how you're helping out with these new rollouts?
Yeah, so you're correct. The largest IT customer in the world is the federal government, and anywhere from $90 to $100 billion in IT, and they have budgets, right, and money to spend. So anytime you do see a downturn in the economy, everyone has to jump into the federal. It's not as easy to do because it's not just based on relationships. It does take an investment, right? You do have to have the right solution sets. You do have to have the right contract vehicles. As we look to support our customers in the buying season, first and foremost, I told you about all the RFPs that are coming out on Super Loan, right? So we've got extended hours on our sales teams throughout the season to help support those RFPs. I know work weekends and at a minimum here to midnight, on September 30th to help customers close those last minute deals. And we're really working hard on our automation tools. So we've developed a Cisco Go portal that gives our partners a unique experience, a self-sufficient experience where they can quote, they can place orders, they can do post-order work as well from it. We have developed what's called an Apple Slicer that gives our customers the ability to quote their own Apple CTO product. So trying to make them more efficient during this time. Proactively review credit lines for customers and offer alternative financing, right? So how can we bump seasonal lines as a service, escrow programs, make that available front of mind to our customers to help close that incremental business. Continue to communicate with our partners on our GSA schedule. What vendors do we have that can help you close? Maybe you don't have it on your schedule, you team with us, you can knock down that opportunity. We also have a GSA pass-through program, additional 60 or 70 other vendors that you can add through a letter of supply on our partners GSA. It's going through DPAS protocol, Defense Priority Allocation System. It's an important part of rated orders and knowing how to handle a rated order and the consequences of not handling a rated order properly. So we do have protocol in place to ensure that those type of orders get moved to the front of the line, either from an Ingram stock or a vendor fulfillment standpoint. And then it's leveraging our secure supply chain certs that we have out there with partners to help make them more successful. And at the end of the day, it's working with our DXS project management solution. So as POs are issued, who is actually going to do the work, right? So what professional services are needed that we have on our line card? How can we help with project management, leveraging our integration facilities that we have in Millington and Miraloma to bring product in, to asset tag, to bundle, to kit, to do some integration work, to deploy them, right? So maybe it's a multiple location deployment that we can help customers with, express warehousing or warehousing, product for our customers, and even ITAD. So if we're replacing old equipment, what are they going to do with the old equipment? As they bring new in there, let's help dispose that properly, and perhaps there's some benefit or value in the ITAD product.
Now, you had mentioned that Fed is the biggest group that is buying IT support and services. If there's somebody listening that doesn't currently sell to the Fed, but it's something that they are interested in doing, is that something that Ingram can help them with and kind of figure out how to make that transition? Or is that something that is just a longer process? How does that work?
Yeah, no, we definitely can, talk to that partner and kind of point them in the right direction, if you will, kind of take them under the wing. It is a process to build it. So it's all a part about relationships, and it's a part contracts are a big part of that. And obviously starting off, you probably won't have contracts. So how do you get contracts, right? So the easiest way to get access to contracts is by teaming. And we talked a variety of ways that you can team, which is our GSA schedule or through our diversity partner network. So help building your rapport on that, helping, help up with your past capability statements, things along those lines. So we can put them in a position to start building and get them out of the gates running by teaming and leveraging some of the infrastructure that we have in place as they kind of build out their Fed strategies and practices.
And as you're talking about teaming and some of these options and communities that Ingram has, are you noticing any areas within the teaming, any type of sectors from the tech space, you're like, wow, we'd really love to have a partner in this space. We need more help in this space.
Yeah, that's a great question. I know cloud is becoming more and more relevant, and we're getting more and more customers up with cloud solutions. As modernization takes hold, and agencies look at offsetting some of the costs. So, I think there's a growing, it seems like, the commercial side has grown further along with offering as a service cloud solutions. So I think, partners that are really looking to get invested, I think the time is right when offering, cloud-based type of solutions to the federal government.
And we've been talking a lot about the federal government and technology and kind of the vision for that in the future. But when you think of technology as a whole, federal government or beyond, where do you see it going within the next year?
Well, you can't get away from security. That's always prevalent in some of the recent changes with DoD. We've seen that. Transformation to the cloud, like I just mentioned, talked about AI, IoT. It's all about IoT automation. 5G is going to play a big part in agencies' strategies going forward. The work from anywhere is really solving the problems, as I mentioned too, in support of agency goals. So it's not just for commodity sales; it's full solutions. And I just saw a recent article too. Network modernization. Sometimes we forget about that, but pandemic really exposed some agencies that didn't have proper infrastructure support, maybe the remote workforce and things along those lines. So agencies are really looking now as a service and hybrid cloud models can really help prepare for the future surges and declines, that might be out there.
You have brought us again so much information. We've been learning a lot more about the Fed buying season these past few weeks. If people want to learn more about anything we talked about or they want to connect with you, where is the best place to do that?
Oh, absolutely. They can certainly reach me on LinkedIn through my profile, or directly at my email address, edward.potoczniak@ingrammicro.com.
Perfect. And we'll link that in the show notes as well. Thank you so much, Ed, for coming on the show and sharing your insight with us.
Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate it.
If you like this episode or have a question, join the discussion on Twitter at Ingram Tech Soul with the hashtag B2B Tech Talk. Thank you for tuning in and subscribing to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro.
You've been listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, hosted by Carrie Roberts. This episode was sponsored by Ingram Micros Imagine Next. B2B Tech Talk is a joint production with Sweetfish Media and Ingram Micro. Ingram Micro production handled by Laura Burton and Christine Fan. To not miss an episode, subscribe today on your favorite podcast platform.